How's it going, fellow crypto investors? This is Big Sky Crypto. Hope you're all doing great. In this video, I wanted to talk about something that I ran across yesterday concerning ICOs that I think is pretty exciting. Before I do that, though, I want to do my disclaimer. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Everybody's responsible for doing their own due diligence and only invest what you can potentially afford to lose. So with that being said, I was browsing through some equity crowdfunding platforms that I use. I've been investing in private startup companies for about a year and a half, and it was while browsing through one of those crowd equity funding platforms that I ran into the news about the ICOs. Little background first, or history, for anybody that's not familiar with equity crowdfunding. Prior to May 16th, I think it was, of 2016, you needed to be an accredited investor in order to invest in private startup companies and receive equity in return. If you were a non-accredited investor, the only thing you could do is, I believe you could invest through, I think it was Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and you couldn't receive equity. You could receive either a discount for their service or a product that they're producing, something like that. You couldn't actually get equity in the company. So that all changed in May of 2016, and that was thanks to the Jobs Act of 2012, which was passed by Congress late in 2011, and then President Obama signed it early in 2012. He signed it into law. But then it took 4 years for the SEC to write the 600 plus pages of rules. So it wasn't until May of 2016 that it was enacted. So starting then that's when non-accredited investors were also allowed to invest in private startup companies and actually receive a part of the company or a future part of the company. So that's a little background on that. I guess for those who don't know, an accredited investor is someone who earns in excess of $200,000 a year for the previous 2 years and has to foresee making at least that much in the following year, or you have to have a net worth in excess of $1 million. So just for a little background, that's what qualifies you as an accredited investor, which I'm not. So wish I was, but so anyway, it was there's 3 different sites that I use, 3 different equity crowdfunding platforms. Seed Invest, which is the one that's on the screen here, is one that I have some investments through. Another one is WeFunder. I don't currently have any investments through that platform, but it was StartEngine, their platform. I was just browsing potential investments. Every now and then I do that just to see what's new. When I ran across this, where StartEngine is having this ICO summit November 10th, and I guess they actually, it was August 30th when they announced that they were going to be accepting ICOs on their platform. So they'll be, I think they said they're one of the first regulation crowdfunding and Regulation A platforms that will be accepting ICOs. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They're having this summit, which I browsed briefly, but looks pretty good. I think the exciting part, is in order to be listed on these equity crowdfunding platforms, you have to go through a vetting process. I know, especially Seed Invest, they're very strict on the companies they list on their platform, so they're very well vetted. I believe, reading through what I saw on StartEngine, they were saying that the ICOs one of the requirements is they will need to be incorporated in the United States, and they'll have to meet certain requirements under the crowdfunding regulations and also Regulation A. So there'll be a pretty good vetting process, and also a lot of requirements they'll have to meet just to get listed. So I think personally, this is just my opinion, but I think it will help to protect potential investors, because right now I think there's very little regulation. There's obviously scams that you have to be careful of, but I think going through platforms like these, and I think StartEngine is just going to be the beginning. I think other platforms, crowdfunding platforms, will be following them, and also listing ICOs. But I think it's I'm excited about it. I think it's something that will protect investors. For those who are more risk averse and afraid to just, the way it is now, to put their money in ICOs, because they just don't, they're scared, they don't want to get scammed. Using these platforms, I think, will give them at least, there's no guarantees. Just investing in, like I do, in the private startups is speculative. It's, there's a high amount of risk, just like with the ICOs. But doing it through these platforms, at least there's some sort of vetting process, and they have to meet certain requirements. So I think it helps. I think it'll also help with the SEC knowing that the ICOs are listed on these platforms. I think that might keep the SEC from coming down with too many regulations that will just screw up the market. It might satisfy them for a while, knowing that a lot of these are being listed on these platforms and being vetted somewhat. So that's just something that I thought was really interesting. Like I said, it's there's still a pretty good amount of risk, but like I said, it's the potential reward is, the higher the risk, the higher the potential reward. Like any early startup investment, potentially you could make a fortune off it. I ran across an article on a Stanford professor who was an early investor in Google. I think he invested, it was $100,000, which is a good chunk of money. And his investment today is worth over $1 billion. So even if you invested 1/100 of what he invested, So if you invested $1,000, your $1,000 investment would be worth over $10 million. I mean, that's a huge return, but that's why you take the risk. The higher the risk, a lot of times the higher the reward. So, and also, you know, you may invest in 10 different or 20 different private startups, and only one or two may ever, you know, materialize to be anything. So you need a pretty good return to make up for the ones that don't ever become anything, that you lose on. So I just thought this was something that was really interesting. It's the first time I'd seen anything about ICOs being listed on these equity crowdfunding platforms. And I think going forward, if it spreads, where more of these platforms start listing ICOs, I think it's personally, I think it's a real good thing. I think it'll, like I said, I think it'll help protect investors and could bring more investors into the market, you know, feeling that you know, they might feel a little safer going through a platform like this, investing where they wouldn't otherwise, you know, think of doing it. So I think it could broaden out the investor base, which I think would be great. So that was just something that I ran across. So I thought I'd share it. I I did a quick search on YouTube to see if someone else had done a video about it, because it was announced on the 30th of August by StartEngine, so I didn't know if the news was already out there. So if this is all old news, I'm, you know, sorry, but I just thought I'd go ahead and do a video on it anyway. So that's about all on that, you know. So what I'll probably do is come back with look at the markets and see how they're doing this Friday evening. Okay, so I'm back for a quick look at the markets. This is actually the third take I've had to do on this. The first one, I had StartEngine's site open, and there's some kind of alerts or something that once I listened to the recording, there was all kinds of noise in that, so I had to delete that one. And I started again, and the phone rang. So this is take 3. So first, I guess we could look at Bitcoin, which looking pretty good. The last video I did, I think it was in this about halfway down this little downtrend here. It had pushed up through this resistance zone that I have, and then dropped back below it and was heading down. And it came down just above this green support zone that I drew in, and actually bounced there and back up into the red resistance zone, and it's failed to push through there, and it's pulled back a little bit. Still not looking too bad though. It may just take a little rest here and then, you know, push back above, hopefully overnight or tomorrow. So we'll see what it does. But overall, looks like it's still uptrending. So I think it looks good. Ethereum, not a whole heck of a lot going on. It kind of in a, you know, if you look at the pattern here, it's somewhat of a mild uptrend. Pretty much sideways though, but it's back above 300, and you can see here this pink line is the 50 period moving average, and it's just moved back above the red line, which is the 200 period moving average. So the 50's moved back above, which is a good sign. And also the price is back above the 200. It was actually below the 200 period moving average for quite a while, actually back here about the 10th of September, it looks like, is when it, or no, actually the 8th of September it dropped below. So it's been about a month. So it's finally back above, so that's a good sign. I'm kind of watching it to see if it gets above this 310 to 312 area. There might be a little resistance there, and I've actually got this buy area here. If it gets up near 320, I may pick up a little bit more. So it's overall, I think it's looking pretty decent. And Litecoin is kind of the same as the last video, still moving sideways. It has held above the $50 price though, so that's good. Not doing a whole heck of a lot. It's probably looks like it's in another sideways pattern like it was back here. It moved sideways for probably about a month. It's got this whole area here where it wasn't doing a whole lot of nothing. So might be in another pattern like that where it's just going to move sideways for a while. It's I'd like to see the price get above the 200. This red line's the 200 period moving average. I'd really like to see it get above that. If it can do that, you know, that would be a real good sign. I've also got kind of a buy area here. If it gets above the, you know, this $58 area and back above the 200 period moving average, I'm probably gonna pick up some more. I'll start buying a little bit more. Till then, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just kind of watching. And Ripple's looking pretty good. In my last video, I was pointed out this cup pattern here that it had formed, and I had this red resistance line in, and it was looking like it might pop above that, and it did. It pushed through, and it came up here over 24.5, and now it's kind of dropped back a little, but still looking good. It may actually, you know, it may possibly come back down near this resistance, old resistance line, which now should be support, so it may come back down here near that and retest it before going higher. So we'll just have to see. But you know, volume was really good when it broke out. It's dropped off some since then, but still looking good. And I had picked some up back here, 18 cents or so when it was back in this area. I substantially increased my position in Ripple, so that's looking pretty good. And Regal Coin, thought we'd take a look at that. They don't have that on TradingView yet, so I'm here on the market capitalizations list using their chart, and it's not, Regal Coin's not looking too bad. It's still above $12. It peaked back here. I think it got up over 22, I think, maybe, or close to 22, and then pulled back. It was pretty volatile back in here, and then you can see now it's calmed down a lot. It's holding this, you know, just above $12 area, so it's flattened out quite a bit. So that's not looking too bad. So the overall, can look at the overall market capitalization. I think we were sitting at looks like 147.7 billion on the total market cap. Bitcoin's dominance is 49%, and the 24-hour volume is over 2.3 billion. So that's quite a bit, and looks pretty mixed if you look at the list. There's probably an equal amount of green and red, looks like. So be interesting to see what the market does going into the weekend, whether we get some more rally or it starts selling off. So we'll see. But that's it for a look at the markets. So I guess that's about all I got for this video. As you can see, I finally got rid of my glasses. I hate them, but I'm getting older, so unfortunately I gotta wear them if I want to see. Before I go, though, I wanted to say a little bit about BitConnect and also Regal Coin. But I've been in BitConnect longer, so I got a little more history. Just how happy I am with the results up till now. It's paying out close to 1% a day, which I think is great. And my only regret is not going in a little heavier to begin with. I was kind of playing it safe, so I went in with small investment, and then I've been increasing it since then. But I would have been farther along now if I had gone in a little bigger to begin with. But it's growing, which is fantastic. And then Regal Coin, I haven't been in it as long, but it's growing slowly. I'm getting payouts, so probably in the not too distant future I'll be increasing my investment in both of those again. So they're looking real good. And also got my website here I've been working on. I added a page for my videos. I can put them up there, and along with the blog page and news links page. So feel free, there'll be a link down below if anybody wants to check it out and see what I got on there. And also, if anybody wants any additional information on either Regal Coin or BitConnect, I'll have my referral links to both of those down below in the description section. So feel free to use my links if you'd like, and look into them more and see if they're right for you. Like I said, I'm thrilled with them. I guess that's about all I have to say on that. I'll also have a link to my email address. So if anybody has any questions about anything, whatever it is, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll try to do my best to answer it. And please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that. And I think that's about it. So until the next video, take care.